Well, here it is in all its glory. I looked it up last night because I didn't come home till this morning. I left school down there about 5:45 this morning and got home about 8:15. But since I didn't have anything better to do down there last night, I was trying to figure out what the heck this thing was, and I figured it out, and the name is actually very fitting for the size of it. It's a big ox. And I couldn't nail down an exact model number, but I'm pretty sure it's a big ox V07. And there's one just like it on Tractor House right now, the exact same ripper for $1,750. So I don't think I did too bad at 800. And I also looked up and I can still get points for it from Shoot, but this thing, part of the reason I wanted it was it actually belonged to Purdue. This came from the agronomy farm out there. So that was kind of neat. But it's actually only ever run over about 150 acres in its entire life, because they bought it, but nobody on any of the research farms liked it because it's not spring trip, it's shear bolt shank. So they used it for a season and then parked it and hasn't done anything since. So the points on it are basically new, but I still Shoop still carries the points. They're apparently the same ones that Cat uses on their scarifiers, so it's got Cat points on it basically. So there's that, which I'm going to work on here for a while. And then the other score was this. It's an Oliver hydroelectric cylinder that the auctioneer sold as a John Deere cylinder, but I only had to pay $4 for it, and normally they go for anywhere between 75 and 100. So I stole this thing, and it's even got the, not that they're good for anything because you don't use them anymore, but it's still got the factory ends on it. Because anybody that's ever used an Oliver or tried to hook up any implements to an Oliver that knows that if you bump the lever once, you're not going to be hooking anything up to it for about 2 hours so the pressure bleeds off. And this was their factory way of getting around that. You actually threaded the couplers on and actually opened the, so you had leverage to open up the check balls. But so we'll probably throw them on the shelf just to say we have a pair, but it's going to get Pioneer couplers stuck on it when I get it rebuilt. This is also the first hydroelectric cylinder I've ever bought where the switch and the rubber's still intact, but unfortunately the harness is junk. So normally I just pull the switch and everything out of here, block off the holes, and just use it as a straight cylinder. But I actually think now somebody is repopping the hydroelectric harness for these. So one of these days I might actually rebuild one so it works. But anyway, I guess time to get to work on this thing because I'd like to be using it next weekend. So get ready to rock and roll on that. Okay, so the plan here is obviously ain't no way in Billy hell that 120 horse is going to pull 7 shanks, let alone 120 horse two-wheel drive. So I'm going to leave the center shank, that shank, and that shank, take those 2 shanks and 2 outside shanks off and pull 3. And my whole reason, because I had 2 rippers down at that auction, both of them came from Purdue. They had this one and a 4 shank, and I figured the 4 shank was lighter. I figured it probably would have been more size appropriate for the 19. However, I don't always plan on having the 19 being my big horse. So I figure the 7 shank is a smarter investment because as I get a bigger tractor, I can start putting shanks back on. So that was the whole reason for getting the 7 shank. And a lot of people questioned that in the video yesterday. So I'm gonna pull, yeah, that shank, that shank, that shank, that shank, and we're gonna see how good these bolts want to come out. The other thing I'm gonna do is build some damn storage stands for it because it's kind kind of nose heavy, and I don't think it's going to get any better taking the two outside shanks off, which are the weight that's the furthest back. And it kind of wants to tip forward kind of easy. So yeah, I'm going to put some storage stands on it, because when I went and looked at it out at the Purdue farm, because I'm actually the reason they took it to the auction, because I asked them if they wanted to sell it, and since it's a state organization and government bullshit and whatnot, he can't just sell it outright. It's got to go to an auction and be for open bid. There's Dad. He's got to go down to the new property with landscape rake and clean some stuff up. But anyway, when I went and looked at it at the farm, and the reason that front coulter's covered in dirt is because the whole thing is nosed down and sunk into the ground. So, and all it needs is one on either side of that front shank. Just put some jack stands, and that won't be an issue. What am I here for? Now, the question is, am I going to need a torch? Which might have been a smarter idea to just go with beforehand, but, you know, we'll try brawn before brains. The other nice thing is it's got decent matching tires all the way across it. This one's a little, it's got some stock, or I'm assuming stock damage in it, but it looks like it should still hold there, and I got tubes in them, so. And somehow this one ended up full of dirt, so I had to dismount it, clean the dirt out of it, and hopefully everything's in good shape. Just air it right back up. Oh mama. Torch time. I can't remember who asked in one of the video they're working on that loader, who asked what this was. This is a Lincoln TIG welder, or Miller TIG welder, sorry. Lincoln's red, Miller's blue. Because Dad does a lot of pipe welding and stuff, and when you're doing that, you gotta TIG it. You can't MIG it because you get a cleaner weld with a TIG. So that's the biggest reason he's got that. We are non-welder biased here. He's got Miller and Lincoln both. And personally, I mean, I've run I've run Miller and Lincoln wire welders both, and I have a preference for the Lincoln wire welder. I'm not going to tell you I'm a TIG welder because I can't TIG worth a damn. No matter, I'm too shaky. No matter what I do, I always end up biting or striking the rod on the TIG gun, and when you do that, you know it, 'cause it bites the shit out of you. And for Jake, the guy in that Ford right there, he's the one that owns he's the cousin to the guy that owns all the whites down the road, and they farm together. They're good guys. What am I over here for? I don't know why I'm over here. Everything I need is right there. like to avoid having to cut them bolts off, 'cause it'd be nice to save them for when I decide to, or when I finally get a horse big enough to put this thing back together. Where's my cheater pipe? There we go. Hopefully it's not turning the whole thing. It's turning the whole thing. Dag nabbit. Tension 5/16, tension 1/8. And I really kind of want to weigh this thing just to see. There we go. Good deal. Just to see what kind of weight we're dealing with, because I'm gonna get, it's at least a ton. There's no doubt in my mind this thing, it weighs at least a ton. So, and Dad was thinking, by the way the forklift picked it up, it might even be closer to 3,000, so it's somewhere between a ton and a ton and a half, but either way, it's a hoss. Like I said, the name is very fitting. Toasty. Yep. Nobody. And I know it'll help losing the shanks, because them things, I'll bet they're at least 100 pounds a piece. And then the coulters are probably somewhere around 30 pounds a piece with the mounts and everything. So but the lift capacity on the 1955 is listed 3,000 pounds. It'll pick more than that, but that's really about all you want to pick and carry with it. So this thing's going to be pushing that tractor right to its limits in more ways than one, but luckily it only got about 5 acres I need to run it over this season, and hopefully the money will be there. Next season I can get something that's a little more size appropriate for it, which is either going to be a 2655, or there have been some really nice, really cheap 4210s come up for sale. Whether or not there'll be cheap, nice 4210s come up for sale next fall when I have money to buy one, on the other hand, it's going to be a different deal. But so yeah, maybe an Oliver, maybe a white. And I know there's going to be all sorts of people saying, hey, go to 4210, 2655 is a piece of junk, blah 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 blah. Well, the thing is, I want a 2655, and I'm stubborn as a Missouri mule, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. So we'll just have to see what the money situation is and what's available at the time. I'm really hoping, really hoping the 2655. It's not an Oliver. It's a white 2655, and it doesn't say Moline or Plainsman or anything on it, which tells me it came out of Canada. So, but the one that's on Tractor House right now for $9,500 up in Wisconsin, because that one's got a full set of 18.4 38 Firestone Field and Road duals, factory dual cone or dual hubs, and it is a straight tractor. And the guy that's got it's named a Tractor Doctor, and he's a big white, really big into the whites and mostly the 4-digit Olivers. So he's and he knows his shit. So when he puts when he tells you in the listing that it's a good tractor, it's a good tractor. He's not going to screw you, because his business is a lot of word of mouth. So if he screws somebody over once, it's going to come back to bite him. So I would have no problems buying something from him. And I'm hoping that's still available, which, with the farm economy the way it is, and the fact that there aren't too many collectors going after 2655s, because they're so massive that they're kind of an inconvenience to haul. I'm hoping it'll still be there. Or if an Oliver 2655 comes up closer that's in that kind of shape too. Crusty. This may require a man hammer. Okay, let's see if old John Henry here can drive him out. Whoops. Wow. She ain't been sitting outside for a while at all. Huh. Well, I'm gonna have to think on this one. Alright. This is the last coulter. The two on the outsides aren't too bad. The two in the center that I took out were, I beat my brains out on them things. And if I had to guess, it's because they're real close to the weld right here, where these ones are out in the middle, where there's a little bit of spring in the steel yet. The biggest thing is busting the rust loose. Or attempting to, anyway. Man, winter turns into a pansy. Gets to be up over 60 degrees outside, you start doing stuff, it's like... But I'll work back into it. Okay, let's see. Unfortunately, past this point, old John won't reach it. Ooh, I wonder. Stick that in there. if I get it back past where it was riding in, it'll be away from the rust ball. It won't come out so hard. Come on, baby. Work with me here. Looks like there's a little fat spot right there in the center of it. It is moving though, so that's a good sign. Come on, you prick. Yep, there's one right there. One little fat spot I must have put in it from hammering on it. I thought I had it all ground off. It is one thing they probably should have done to this thing. Of course, hindsight's 20/20, and they were probably never expecting shit like this to happen to it. But the way they made this, they should have went either right in front of or right behind the shank and put a hole and a nut welded to this side or something. Actually, they wouldn't want to do that. They'd want a nut welded in here. That way you could run a jack bolt in and pry these things apart. And then they just slide up and down freely. Ooh, I wonder. Stick this thing right here. Aha! Should have done that first. And get her in there. Got it! Aha. You always figure out the easy way to do it when it's on the last one. Dadgummit. Those things are heavy. Okay. On to the shanks. I don't think those are going to be fun. Okay, so the shanks weren't as bad as I initially thought they were going to be. They're actually coming off pretty darn easy. Well, I mean, if I didn't have a forklift, it'd be a bear, but I got a forklift, so they're actually coming off pretty darn easy. I say that, and then the last one wants to be a little prick, I guess. There it goes. You get 4 of them shanks off there, it looks a teeny bit more manageable. Be nice if they were a little closer together, but right now that's, I can't remember if this thing, we never measured it. I don't remember if it was set on or made on 30-inch centers or on 20-inch centers. They look kind of close together to be 30s. I'm thinking they're 20s. Yep, 20-inch centers. So that's 40, so that'll get me a rip right on either side of 2 rows, so it won't be terrible. And if anything, I could half lap it, and depending on how bad the ground breaks up, I can rip it, come back, and split my centers, and rip it again. Wheel bearings sound good. And it lost a bunch of weight doing that too, so. Oh, that's how heavy. Yeah, they ain't too bad. They're probably about 50. If I had to guess, not quite as heavy as I initially thought they were gonna be. But I'll bet there's still probably 400 pounds there between those and those. So, I guess the next step is going to be getting the depth controls freed up, which shouldn't be too bad. Heat the nut, soak it down with WD, and get on with an impact. Run it up and down. That should take care of most of it. And then work on that, or get that tire fixed. Get the coulters free to swing. It shouldn't be too big of a deal. That one already is. The only thing I don't like about this is they didn't make the coulters greasable. So I guess I'll pop the caps off of those and see what, I mean, bearings all feel good, so I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be, or why there'd be anything wrong with them. So I guess onto the wheels. Well, this took longer than I initially expected. I started off with this depth wheel, and it was solid rust up in here all around these legs. And I beat and beat and beat and put the pour power on it and beat and beat and beat, and finally ended up having to take this arch off for here. And Dad got up on top of the ripper and started beating on it with that 9-pound sledgehammer, and I put the porta power, or once we got enough room, I put the porta power down here and got in between the frame and the spindle. And between that, we were able to drive it out of the pockets. But got it freed up and put it, or got it set. Right now I'm at about 12.5 inches. I don't think I'll go any deeper. I mean, I might go, there might be a slight possibility I'll go deeper than that, but I don't think the old 19 will appreciate 14 inches. But I got that side done, started working on this side. Luckily, it was loose already, so this side's going a lot easier. That's actually way past where I want to be, but I wanted to run it up and down a bit just to knock any rust out of there that might have been. And there we go. Nope, must. Wrong way. All right, you little prick. There we go. And there's that job done. Well, it looks like Mother Nature's gonna shut me down. This is the front they've been talking about rolling in all day. Finally showed up. I don't want to get caught out in the rain, so I already got all the tools put away. I'm still going to get the parts skidded up off of this thing. But I got the vast majority of the work done. Got the vast majority of the work done, so hopefully a couple hours next Saturday and Sunday I'll be ripping if the weather permits. And I got enough horsepower in front of it. So I guess that does it for this one, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.